Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. This video is going to be about what I take to the track and why. I've been doing track days for 15 years, probably got over 100 track days in, and thought it might be useful to kind of walk you through the different items I take and why I take them. These are going to be critical items. I don't trailer my car, so all this stuff has to fit in the car, and that makes you choose wisely. So let's get started. First and most important, helmet. Got to have the helmet. Can't go on track without a helmet. Your helmet should probably be Snell 2010 or later for most groups or tracks to accept it. So that's 2010, 2015, and soon it'll be 2020. They rate them every 5 years. Next item are gloves. This is my first pair of gloves, and I will never not have a pair of gloves for track days. Your hands get sweaty, your hands get dirty from wrenching on the car if you need to, rotating tires, whatever it may be. You can't always get them clean, and yeah, just having the gloves just allows me to relax more on the wheel. I've had my hand slip off the shifter in the past from being too sweaty, and you don't really have that happen with the gloves. Next item, the next group of items are just going to kind of be your ancillary stuff. So umbrella, definitely a must-have, especially if there's rain potentially in the forecast. A chair. This is my REI Flex Light chair. Very lightweight, very compact, very comfortable. Suntan lotion. Usually we do track days when it's warmer out and you need suntan lotion. Most of the time you can really get burnt and not even realize it. So definitely a useful thing to have. Next group of items I'm going to talk about are sort of your just in case items. So we have some automotive fuses here. You never know, you might blow a fuse. Zip ties. Zip ties, you hope you don't have to use them, but again, it's very useful. I've got long, kind of medium, and smaller zip ties here. Definitely have had to use zip ties in the past. Same with rope. There might be a situation where you need to tie something a little bit longer, maybe an underbelly pan or something's come loose, or who knows what, but it's just a cheap insurance to have. Tape. So good tape, Gorilla tape, I like to use. It's very strong, very thick. You could tape a body panel, you can tape things to the car, you can make certain repairs with it. Just definitely useful to have. Blue tape, sometimes you need numbers on your car, and the blue tape can be used to make some numbers in the size that you need. And even if you have a number plate, sometimes they don't allow you to use your own number if it's a duplicate, and you'll need to just make some numbers on the car. Electrical tape, always good to have. Heat shields, these are more of line heat shields for brake lines or electrical wiring or anything like that, especially on modified cars. Things get moved around, rerouted, additional wiring added, and heat will melt stuff if it's too close. So it's always good to have maybe 1 or 2 pieces of this on hand just in case. Here's a snapshot of my electronics that I take. This is 360 cam, iPhone 5S for lap timing, external GPS. I'll make another video about that stuff. I want to kind of go into detail what software I run, how I run it. I've also got a Bluetooth adapter, external microphone, and mount set up for the camera. So that's a pretty in-depth setup. I'll cover that in another video. Next items here, oil. I always bring 3 quarts of oil. Got your brake fluid. This isn't enough to do a full flush, but sometimes you're able to pull some fluid out, do a bleed, pull some fluid out of the reservoir, put some fresh fluid in, and finish a track day without any brake issues if you happen to have cooked fluid or whatever. Next items we have are my funnels. This is my oil funnel. Just works well for the GT350 configuration. This is my fuel funnel. This white funnel opens up the no cap, I guess, flap on the GT350 fuel filler. So next items, glass cleaner. Glass cleaner is essential. You're gonna get bugs, rubber marks, just all kinds of stuff is gonna hit your windshield. Next item is the air tank. This is just a basic 7-gallon air tank. I fill it up with my compressor, about 100 pounds I'll put in. That's enough to make any kind of pressure changes I need, my friends need, etc. And then enough to air the car tires back up for the drive home. Air pressure gauge, very important, obviously. This is a Longacre tire gauge, works really well. I like the angle of the chuck on this. Allows me to just put that right onto the right onto the valve stem versus some other I've got a dirt bike style one here that I used to use, which has a 90-degree angle, and it's just hard to get that onto the valve stem without getting brake dust all over you and hitting the rim, etc. So I definitely like the Longacre. Talked about the fuel can here. It's a 5-gallon VP Racing fuel can. Definitely need to have it with this hose. It's got a pre-filter here to catch any debris. Nice large opening, so you get a nice flow out of there. You get good air pulling through there to allow the fuel to pour fairly quickly. These I would say it holds 6 gallons, but when you fill it to 6, you end up dumping fuel all out the bleeder, even just to get it starting to pour. So I generally fill it with 5 to not make a mess. Here is my electric impact. Very, very useful tool. I'm always rotating tires at the track, and or doing brake changes. You're going to be ripping those wheels on and off if you need to inspect anything. It just makes it so much quicker, so much more efficient, and a little bit less, a little bit more painless for you. Here's my jack. This is an aluminum floor jack. It's a Arcan, I guess you call it. It's a 3-ton. It's pretty heavy duty, lifts pretty well. It's not overly heavy, and the handle breaks down. That's important if you're going to be putting it in your car. You get a handle that breaks down and that unscrews from the base. That way you can pack it easily. Gloves, definitely want gloves, even just for changing the wheels, which are getting coated in brake dust, or any brake job you need to do, any minor repairs. You definitely want to have a set of gloves. And then jack stands. I've got these non-marring covers, which aren't very durable. I've probably put the car on these a handful of times and they're starting to tear up, but I'm trying to find a better solution, maybe a different jack with a swivel and a pad or something like that. I like to use my ramps when I'm not having to take the wheels off. If I'm changing oil or doing things, I'll jack the car up, throw it on the ramps with tires on, and just it gets it nice and high. And we'll work our way back over here, talk about tools. So in terms of tools, some tools you need, like your torque wrench, your socket for your lug size. We're 21 millimeter on the GT350. I like to use a breaker bar to break the lugs loose. So I'll go around, break them loose for whichever wheels I'm changing, and then I'll follow up with the then I'll get the car off the ground, and then I'll follow up with the electric impact, just rip them off and rip them back on, and then torque them, of course, with the torque wrench. you know, that's critical. And then you want to re-torque. Never after coming off track. The wheels need to be cooled down when you're torquing. The studs need to be cooled down. I've seen folks torque the lugs when they're hot and break studs and have wheels come off. So you definitely don't want that to happen. You always torque cold. Socket set, just, you know, has pretty much everything you can imagine, SAE and metric in it. You know, it doesn't go super large in size, but this is not, you know, for major repairs. You know, we're not changing an axle at the track or anything like that, but you never know what you're going to need. And then I've got some foam here, and I use this for a knee pad. Essentially, you know, you're always going to be on concrete, asphalt, changing tires or whatever it is you're doing, even gravel, you know, at some places. So this is useful to have just some foam to kneel on when you're doing stuff on the car. These tools here are just kind of your universal tools. I've got the crescent wrench, the angle cutters for anything you need to cut, zip ties, hoses, clamps, you know, anything like that. Couple sets of different pliers, and then just a multi bit tool here with a set of bits. And then I've got my work light here. This is an LED work light. It's got a magnet on the back. It's got a couple of, it's very bright, a couple brightness settings, and also an emergency flasher, which I don't need to use, which is good. These are brake pad measuring gauges. Okay, so they're measuring metric and SAE, or I guess standard measurements. And this is useful to keep an eye on your brakes. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's hard to tell, are they wearing evenly inside and out, left to right? You know, using the measurement tool, it just gives you, you know, the exact measurement. You know where you're at. You can pay attention to it. Maybe this will allow you to run your brakes down a little more than you might be comfortable with, because you're keeping tabs on how quickly they're wearing versus just a visual look here and there. This is a tread depth measuring tool. This is a new thing that I've added to my arsenal here. One of my buddies brought one, and I found it very valuable for measuring the tread depth from outside to inside edge to center, comparing left to right, and just gave me the knowledge and information that I needed to make an informed decision about when to rotate my tires. We're running a new car, I'm running a tire I've never ran before, and this tool just very useful. It's only like $10 or $12 on Amazon, so it's worth it. Another very useful measuring tool is your infrared temp gun. So you can measure the outside of your tire, inside of your tire, you know, just across the tire. If you just hold it, it'll just measure across the surface, and my laser burnt out at my last event. Your brake rotors, brake caliper, temperatures, always good to check that, especially if you think you're having issues. Now, the rest of these items here are for the brake job. I've got a rear set of pads, front set of pads. These studs here are for, I take one bolt out of the caliper, put a stud in, take the other bolt out of the caliper, put this stud in. It allows me to just slide the caliper out versus, you know, hanging the caliper or resting it on a bucket or something like that. So thanks for watching the video. If you guys have any questions about the stuff I'm using, comment below. I'll put links to a lot of the products below as well, so you can check them out and buy them if it's something you think is useful for you. You know, like I said, I've done a lot of track days. This certainly isn't the Bible. I'm definitely interested to hear what other people see as, you know, really valuable things to have on the track. Always looking for a useful new tool that can save my butt and make the most out of a track day. So that's what you want. You know, you're there to have fun. you want to make the most out of it, and you know, bringing the right tool can make or break that for you. So, all right, guys, thanks. We'll see you next time.